All right. Inappropriate Earl is in the house. And today I'm on my own. This is one of the ever popular Earl Alone podcast. And I'm not going to lie to you. It's frankly because I couldn't get any guests to come down to the castle this week, which is too bad because, I know the last couple episodes have been comedy related. Today I'm going back to my roots. And I don't mean LeVar Burton roots. Thank you, Kunta Kinte. But music, which is, for the most part, what this podcast was founded on. I thought, wow, how can I meet some of my 80s musical icons? I'll have something they can promote their solo albums on. I'm not messing around anymore. 2016 is the year of Inappropriate Earl, baby. And it's also the year that Guns N' Roses are reuniting. And this is a very divisive reunion, I would say. Because at least when Kiss reunited, it was in 96. They've had more reunions than Elizabeth Taylor and, all 9 of her husbands. But at least in 96, it was the original 4. Gene, Paul, Ace, and Peter each got an individual cover on Spin Magazine, sold out arenas all over the world. And it was like exciting, because I never got to see the original Kiss as a kid, even though I didn't really mind because, I grew up more as a record buying teenager. And when I say I bought records, I mean with the money my dad gave me. So I should say with the records my dad bought. Thank you, Jim Skakel. Rest in peace with my mama, Virginia. I grew up with Kiss in the 80s. Vinnie Vincent, Mark St. John, Bruce Kulick, Eric Carr, Jean Beauvoir playing bass on those mid-80s Kiss albums. Thank you, Gene Simmons. You're not fooling me, baby. It's crazy that there was a black member in Kiss and nobody knows about him. He was the bass player of the Plasmatics. And I think they crossed paths on Wendy O. Williams' solo album in 1984, which was basically the lost Kiss album because Gene, Paul, Ace, and Vinnie Vincent, as well as Eric Carr, played on it. Different songs. So good luck trying to figure out who played on that album. I mean, there were more ghost musicians on her solo album than a haunted house. But, good album, though. Sounds a little dated. But also a little bit of Kiss trivia. The Kiss song Thief in the Night, which appeared on Crazy Nights in 1987, was originally recorded for Wendy O. Williams. Like a thief in the night, she wakes up, and then I forget the rest. That song's about as forgettable as my first comedy album, Earl Alive. Don't buy it on iTunes because I don't get the money for it anymore. This comedy business is a real schemer business. There will be a new album in 2016 once I can get 20 minutes of material together. You'd think I'd have it after 15 full years in comedy, but I basically worked on 1 minute a year, so I need another 5. What the fuck? But we're here to talk about Guns N' Roses, man. It ain't Guns N' Roses, man. I'm sorry, William Bailey, Axl W. Rose, and Malibu. Come on, Inappropriate Earl, and let's answer the real questions. I'm not going to throw you these softball cookie cutter, lessons, because for those of you who don't know, the rumored lineup at Coachella, which is where they will be making their debut, that's if Axl doesn't lose his mind, is Axl, Slash, Duff, no Izzy, no Adler. So I don't really think it's a true reunion. I mean, you need the original 5. And, the remaining members, it's going to be a mixture of, I think, guys from Axl's new Guns N' Roses, Frank on drums, Dizzy Reed on keyboards, and then it's rumored that Dave Kushner from a Velvet Revolver will be the guitar player, and then there's possible guest appearances by Izzy and Steven Adler. I'd be okay if they got Izzy into the fold, but I can understand why they can't have Steven Adler on this tour. I mean, I can imagine the conversation the insurance companies would have with Guns N' Roses management on insuring what would be the biggest tour of 2016, and no doubt about it. I mean, they could play Staples Center and every Madison Square Garden, 3 to 5 nights easy, possibly even some stadiums if you had the right opening band. I don't think he would do it, but if you had say the Foo Fighters, but I don't think Dave Grohl is really a big fan of Guns N' Roses, so I don't think he would do it. But you'd have to have some band also with a bit of a draw, unless it's the original 5 guys, and I just don't see that as happening. I mean, my preference would be, if I was running things, I would have, Slash, Axl, Duff, Izzy, Gilby Clarke, Brent Fitz on drums. Brent is Slash's drummer. And if you've seen Slash play the last 2 years with Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators, Brent plays the Guns N' Roses songs incredibly faithful. I remember seeing Slash play at the Wiltern, and I was standing next to Steven Adler, who was in a various state of mind, let's just put it that way. And he had recognized me as being his neighbor from a building we lived in Century City. And I'm like, hey, man, what's up? I used to live in Unit 110. You were in 510. He's like, yeah, man, that was a cool building. I used to jack off in that building a lot. And, not really conversation you'd have with an ex-neighbor, but it's Steven Adler, and he's a cool guy, and you could tell he was watching Brent play the drums going, man, I used to play like that. And then maybe you could have Steven play 1 or 2 songs. That would kind of suck to be the drummer for 90% of the concert, and then Steven Adler stumbles onto the stage, and the drummer is just drummed for 2 hours. All right, buddy, I got it from here. Thanks for playing. Suck it. I don't think Gilby Clarke or Matt Sorum are involved in this at all, which kind of sucks. They were a big part of, the band in the 90s. They're kind of like guys who played after Ace and Peter and Kiss, big part of the band. They helped keep the band running. But, people like Gene, Paul, Ace, and Peter, they want that original Appetite for Destruction, 5, Gang of 5. And the EP they put out after that, Lies, 5-song ditty. Actually, the EP means a lot more to me than Appetite for Destruction, because I had sex for the very first time to a song on that album. When I tell people the story that I had sex for the very first time to Welcome to the Jungle, they're like, what? I'm like, no, I'm just kidding. It was Patience. And it was really, really set the tone for me, because if you think about it, to have sex for the very first time to song is kind of romantic. And, it really helped set the tone for me. I was good, I was so good I lasted until the whistling part. Hey-oo! Now, if you're not a Guns N' Roses fan, let me explain the song Patience to you. It starts off with Slash hitting his guitar chord once, and then Axl starts to whistle. Shed a tear 'cause I'm missing you. By the time he said you, I was ready for seconds. But, I really love that. Every time I hear that song, I think of Maritza. So, Maritza, wherever you are, I still think about you fondly. And I'm sure you don't of me, but hey, it happens. Nothing lasts forever. We both know hearts can change. Axl Rose, 1992, November Rain. So, but they are making their whatever lineup hits the stage. It will be at Coachella, which is the big indie kind of emo music festival, and they do have some weird acts. I mean, I know Motorhead has played there recently. Of course, that won't be happening again. We'll get into that a little later. Because the rock world lost a legend last week in Lemmy Kilmister, who was Motorhead, and it's we're all sad in the rock world, and it's going to be a great memorial service Saturday, and I think they're streaming it live. So if you're in LA, go to the Rainbow. It's going to be a party all day, 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. They're closing the street. Roxy and Whiskey are getting involved. So if you're in LA, definitely go down there. It's, of course, with Lemmy, nothing was private. So the public is encouraged to come, wear your Motorhead shirt. And, I think they'll be passing out shots of Jack and Coke at the funeral, which I will be going to. It's going to be pretty crazy to have a bartender at a funeral, but that's the way Lemmy wanted it. And I'm sad. I got to know him a little bit, and I actually got to take him to my dentist a few times because he needed some dental work. And I was dating their current manager, the female. There's 2 managers, Todd and Shelley. Todd's a good-looking guy, but Shelley's a very good-looking girl, so I chose Shelley. Sorry, Todd. And Singerman Entertainment, they're the best. And I live right next door to Lemmy, so I would have to take him to my dentist. And probably my favorite Lemmy story is I picked him up at 9 a.m, and I'm on my way to the dentist. And he's like, "Hey, Earl, can we stop off at Gil Turner's?" Now, if you're familiar with the Sunset Strip, Gil Turner's is the infamous and very, very well-known liquor store on the corner of Sunset and Doheny. And every rock and roll star, from Mick Jagger to Slash to, the third drummer from King Cobra, has gone there to buy booze with usually an underage girl, myself included. And stop off at Gil Turner's at 9 a.m. I'm thinking Lemmy's going to get cigarettes, maybe water, soda pop. He comes out with 2 beer cans. I thought they were miniature kegs. I mean, they made Foster's, lager cans look like Dixie cups. And he cracks both open. And he hands one to me. Now, this is 9 a.m. Now, I've never had a drink or drug in my life. So I said that to Lemmy. I said, "Lemmy, I don't drink. I've never had a drink in my life." And he just looks at me and goes, "You should start." And proceeded to drink both. And before we got to the dentist. And, it's only like a, 10-minute ride from Gil Turner's to my dentist in Westwood. So picked him up 8 hours later. And, of course, the whole office fell in love with him. And he was always very nice to me. And, I know Mickey D and Phil Campbell are very sad. And, Motorhead will live on, of course, with their music. And, if you are a Motorhead fan, I encourage you to, buy their songs on iTunes and go on iMotorhead.com and, get a shirt or something. And, just remember Lemmy for the true legend that he was. It's an often misused term, legend, but with him, he was. And he was just an amazing man, and he was very man of the people. And I'm hoping Guns N' Roses does a tribute to him because he deserves it. And I know Slash on New Year's Eve did an amazing, you can go on YouTube, look up Slash, Todd Kearns, who is one of the conspirators in his band. And they do a very cool cover of Ace of Spades, of course. And it does it justice. And there's some cool YouTube tributes to Lemmy. I think one of my favorites is Alice Cooper and his band. Glenn Sobel on drums, Anita Strauss, Ryan Roxy, on guitar, and Chuck Garrick on bass. And I'm forgetting the name of the third guitar player, but he's very, very good. He helped produce the last Alice Cooper album, and as an added bonus, Dave Murray from Iron Maiden and Alice Cooper on vocals do a great rendition of Ace of Spades. So just YouTube these things. It's cool to see musicians of different genres. There's a couple alternative bands who also have a tribute, all doing Ace of Spades, of course, and it's pretty neat because Lemmy was literally the last of a dying breed of rock and rollers, and this is a guy who was Jimi Hendrix roadie. Just to put it in to perspective of his place in history and rock and roll. I mean, there is no Metallica without Motorhead. Slayer, Testament, all the harder bands that I don't necessarily listen to, but I still respect them. Motorhead didn't just break the wall for these bands. They ran through it. Megadeth, Motorhead, for a three-piece band the last 20 years has the most amazing sound. I've probably seen 70 to 100 Motorhead concerts. And, I was never really a fan of them before I started dating Shelley, but, I just became a fan because you sit there and watch them play and it's like, wow, it's like a kick in the nuts with two steel-toe boots. It's pretty amazing. And Mickey D is one of the most powerful drummers I've ever seen. I mean, I remember once I saw them play at the Anaheim House of Blues, and Mickey D drums so hard. He hits the skins with such a violent pace that the drumsticks were breaking. And Bobby Blotzer from Rat was standing next to me just going, oh my God, I can't believe that. So, you don't really see other musicians watch other musicians much because they're so selfish and vain. But, to see the drummer from Rat just staring at Mickey D like a little kid was pretty fun. And I think Stephen Pearcy also did a tribute to Lemmy at the Whiskey last week. So, the rock world is definitely mourning. And because it really, with Lemmy dying, it basically is the end of Motorhead. There's no way they could replace him. And, Motorhead's not like Kiss, because I think in a couple of years, Gene and Paul won't be able to tour anymore, be getting up there in age and whatnot. And Gene won't care. He'll put 4 black guys in makeup and call it, Kissed. And he'll still get most of the money. Trust me on that one. Takes a Jew to know a Jew, and I know a Jew. And his name is Gene Simmons. Tweet at Gene Simmons to come on Inappropriate Earl and get some real questions instead of these ham and egger questions. So it's been a rough week in the world. Lemmy was just an amazing guy, very smart, educated. Another funny story I have about Lem is since I live right next door to him, sometimes Todd and Shelley would call me up and say, "Hey Earl, we haven't really heard from Lem in a few days. Can you go over there? Just make sure he's okay." So. I'd go over there and I really don't want to find a body if he's moved on. I just don't want to see that. And this is like 10 years ago, it's amazing that he lived another 10 years after this story. But, so I'd knock on the door and I wouldn't hear anything. And I had the keys and I dreaded going in there. I don't want to see a body. I don't want to see a body. Please, God, no body. So I'd open up the door and the apartment would be empty. And there's really no way for me to physically describe Lemmy's apartment. I mean, it's got a lot of stuff in there, guitars, artifacts, magazines of varying subject matter, cigarette cans, holders, couple bottles of, alcohol and all that stuff. I mean, the kitchen looked like a Home Depot blew up and just went everywhere. And so, all right, well, he's not here. I guess he's alive. I better check the pool. I better go by the pool, see what's going on. And every time this would happen, I would go out. Lemmy would be by the pool with a lady or two in his Speedos, jean jacket on usually, balls hanging out of his Speedos, and he would just look up at me and go, and I can't do an impression of him. I'm not very good at impressions. And he would just look at me and go, "I'm okay, Earl." And he'd give me a thumbs up. And that was probably the deepest conversation we've ever had. Because, you know, I many of you know me by now. I'm pretty simple person conversation-wise. And Lemmy's was really, really smart. So we didn't necessarily gel with similar likes and dislikes, but it was still an honor to know him a little bit. You know, I don't want to make it seem like we were best friends, but he was always very nice to me. So I love you, Lem, and you know, the fact that you lived 71 years on Earth is a true testament to how strong a person you were. Because if you think about it, and I think this week was the anniversary of Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy dying. You know, Phil Lynott, Jesus Christ, you talk about a guy, you know, 36 years old, died of heart, liver, and kidney failure. That's a guy who knew how to party. And Lemmy outlasted him by, you know, 35 years. So, you know, Lemmy outlasted a lot of people. And it's just kind of neat to see the tributes coming in from, you know, Metallica, Dave Grohl. You know, it's not just metalheads, you know, and I know Dave Grohl would go over there and to Lemmy's apartment and, you know, they'd write songs and do some things. And, you know, it's pretty neat to see how many people, you know, you're a great artist when you just don't influence people of your musical genre, but people outside your genre. I think I saw another tribute video on YouTube of, they were like kind of a faux country band doing Ace of Spades, and they did a great version of it. I wish I knew the name of it, but, you know, it's just pretty neat to see that. So, you know, Lemmy is looking down on us, and, you know, many don't know this who aren't hardcore fans of Motorhead, but, you know, their original drummer, or I should say, I don't think he was the original drummer, but the drummer of their classic lineup for sure, Filthy Phil Taylor, he died last month. And, you know, I think to a degree it was very hard on Lemmy and helped fast track his, you know, death. Because, you know, I know when my mom died, you know, a lot of people don't know this about my background because I don't really talk about it too much. But my parents in 1998 died 2 months apart. And although certainly my dad was pretty sick toward the end, you know, the minute my mom died, I knew he would go very, very fast. And it was to a similar degree the same with Lemmy. You know, although I don't know if he and Phil were tremendous friends toward the end, it was still like his blood brother. And he was there through the ups and downs of Motorhead. And, you know, Motorhead's a great story. And, you know, I don't want to get too Tony Robbins-ish on people with this, but, you know, Motorhead was you know, it was a tough band to catch on. You know, a lot of no's, a lot of rejections, a lot of you guys play too fast, too loud. You know, you're not the best looking guys in the world. You know, we can't really sell you. You know, and this is, you know, in the early 80s, you know, when glam metal was just starting to, you know, kind of take off. And, you know, you had bands like Motley Crue and Rat and Quiet Riot. And, you know, of course, later on, you know, the really glamier bands, you know, the Bon Jovis, the Poisons, the Def Leppards, the Cinderellas. And, you know, Motorhead survived. And, you know, they're a great live band. And I'm sure the memorial concert, if they do one, will just be amazing to see bands and artists of all genres coming in. You know, I have no info on who would play, but I'm assuming, you know, anyone from Metallica to Slash to, you know, Slayer and you know, obviously Phil and Mickey from Motorhead and you know, maybe even Eddie Clark would, you know, come out for it, would pay tribute and send off Lemmy in the grandest of ways. So this was kind of a combo episode of Guns N' Roses and Lemmy. You know, what I know Axl Rose was supposed to go on Jimmy Kimmel last Tuesday, a couple days ago, and he canceled. So it always, you know, it already seems like this tour is, you know, starting off has people anticipate with Axl causing problems. I mean, the tour's not even, remotely underway, and Axl's already delaying it. And, I can only imagine at Coachella, they'll probably go on at, they'll probably be scheduled to go on at 8, and I'm guessing they won't go on until at least 10:30. And that's going to be interesting because, Coachella is not, a Guns N' Roses crowd. It's like people who listen to like Oasis and Morrissey and stuff like that. So, but Guns N' Roses is such an iconic band that, I think even a Morrissey fan would be, I want to see what the buzz is about. And, but, if they hit the stage an hour, 2 hours late, I think, that crowd will revolt. But you never know. I mean, probably one of the cooler concerts I ever went to was Morrissey was playing Irvine. And I think at the last minute he had to cancel. He got sick or something. And so it was literally hours before the show. So they flew in Billy Idol and his band. Of course, I was psyched because, I'm a huge Steve Stevens fan. And I was like, wow, I want to see how Billy Idol can win over a Morrissey crowd. I mean, literally everyone there was there to see Morrissey. And for whatever reason, the powers that be was like, well, let's get Billy Idol. And, the first song, they were, kind of quiet but receptive. And then he killed it. He got them going, and they loved him. So I think if Guns N' Roses plays it smart, they could really use Coachella as a nice, not a rehearsal gig, but like as a nice way to say, hey, we're back, even though it's not the true lineup. Although I think something's going on with Steven Adler. They're being very quiet, or he's being very quiet. Like, I don't think he's said one word about it. And I'm sure either Axl or Axl's representatives have said, hey, keep your mouth shut. Don't pop off about, not being the drummer for the whole concert. And we'll use you at select dates where you can come out and play Welcome to the Jungle or something. Or, knocking on heaven's door, whatever. You get a nice paycheck and, just be quiet. Let our drummer handle the bulk of the duties, and, you'll get to come out. We'll give you a cut of the merch, just be quiet. And, so it's, I personally wish this would have happened, a long time ago. I know Axl and Slash and, been going at it for, a decade plus. But, it is what it is. I mean, if this was, 2002, I think it'd be, psyched. I mean, Slash looks the same. He looks really good. And, Axl kind of, I don't know, at least he's gotten rid of the cornrows. I mean, for a while, he looked like a wigger Greg Allman. But, hey, it's Axl Rose. What are you going to do? And Izzy's like off the radar because Izzy didn't want to tour in, 20 years ago. So he's got to be in his 50s now. I'm sure he doesn't want to tour now, even though this would be a worldwide tour, but I think they'd have a lot of days off in between shows because they'd be major shows. They'd overseas, they'd probably do like what Iron Maiden does and play huge stadiums. And I know Slash with Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators plays stadiums, so overseas and stuff. And then in America, I don't know if they could fill like, say, the Coliseum in Los Angeles or where the 49ers play and Northern California, but they could come pretty close. And like I said earlier, I think if they want to play stadiums, they'd have to really get an opening band like the Foo Fighters or someone like that, maybe the Killers. Of course, 80s metalheads like myself. I think if I could book the lineup myself, I would have like 3 bands. I have one current band and then do an homage to, the 80s. And no, I'm not saying a reunite Shark Island with Richard Black, even though Axl did steal his snake dance from Richard Black, Shark Island. If you go on YouTube, I think there's a really, really fuzzy video from 1986 at Gazzari's where it's Tracy Guns, Axl Rose, and joining Shark Island on stage. And Shark Island, band that should have been bigger, but just they were like kings of the Sunset Strip, sold out shows. They had to sneak like the singer in backstage in disguise because he was like the king of the strip. But it's rumored that Axl Rose, let's just say, borrowed some stage moves in the overall presentation of Richard Black, the singer. YouTube, Shark Island, Bad for Each Other. It was like their big video on MTV. But it was too late to the party. It was like 1990. And, just like Richard Crenna said to Stallone, it's over, Johnny. But I think I would go with a lineup, a reunited Skid Row with Sebastian Bach. The replacement singer, Tony Harnell, ex-TNT singer, amazing vocalist. He just left Skid Row after like 8 months. After replacing Johnny Solinger, who replaced Sebastian Bach. So you've got replacement singers replacing replacement singers. That's never a good sign. So, guys, just get together with Sebastian Bach. I know you hate the guy. I'm sure he hates you. But this is like the last big reunion anyone would give a shit about. So you go, Skid Row opens, The Killers. If you could somehow coax Dave Grohl into the mix, is Skid Row, The Killers, Foo Fighters, Guns N' Roses. That's an amazing tour. So do it, get it together, and you could play stadiums. And before Axl has a meltdown and the tour's canceled. I recently went to Motley Crue and Alice Cooper. I shot my wad on that concert. 2 front row center tickets and $500 each for me and my lady friend to meet Alice Cooper, who was incredibly nice, by the way. And if you have a chance to see Alice Cooper, please do yourself a favor and see him, because he's got a great band right now. And Tommy Henriksen is the third guitar player. I just remembered his name. He had great leather pants on. I'm a leather man, not a leather daddy. I'm a leather man. So, guys, I know this was, a rambling episode, but let me give you guys a hint. If you think you can do a better job of talking for 40 minutes by yourself, I will direct you to Amazon and tell you what equipment to buy. It's a mixing board, 2 mics, a Zoom recorder, a laptop, and all the accessories, thousands of dollars worth. And do a better job yourself. And then you can tell me how to do a better job on this one. So I love you all. This has been a brief but hopefully memorable episode of Inappropriate Earl, episode 99. You'd think it would have been a hockey podcast in honor of Wayne Gretzky, but it is not. It is in honor of Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead. We all love you, Lem, and thank you for being a cool dude. And in honor of Axl Rose, Slash, and Duff for doing a 60% reunion of Guns N' Roses. This has been Inappropriate Earl. Go to Motorhead.com, iMotorhead.com. If you go to Motorhead.com, you'll get to buy a car gasket or something. So iMotorhead.com and support Motorhead because, without Lemmy, there is no Motorhead. And Mickey and Phil, they need that cheddar still. So I love you all. Inappropriate Earl, SoundCloud and iTunes. Please leave a review on iTunes if you can help me out. The more reviews I get, the more people notice. Oh my God, this guy's got hundreds of positive reviews. He must be funny. I'll listen to him. The more people who do that, I can get bigger guests like on Twitter @Gene Simmons. Please, a lot of you have done it and I appreciate it, but a lot of you haven't. And I think if we just bombard @Gene Simmons on Twitter, we'll get him at my lovely palatial estate condo studio. And we'll get to the real questions on Inappropriate Earl.